Something I am very excited about is research that is being turned into tangible opportunities for our farmers and growers here in New Zealand as a new emerging proteins network was launched this month, which aims to meet bigger, better funded overseas competitors head on by coordinating New Zealand's response to the growing food sector. It's got an All Blacks approach to it. I'm very excited. Emerging Proteins New Zealand is the organisation run by Food HQ in Palmerston North, and it was prompted by a report earlier this year which highlighted the progress made in emerging proteins by key competitor, the Netherlands. Richard Rennie, agricultural journalist for Farmers Weekly, has got a story up on farmersweekly.co.nz with further detail. It's highlighted New Zealand needs to ramp up investment and research focus in a sector where global plant protein sales have surged 17% in 2018 alone. So joining us to find out where the opportunity lies for you watching, Miranda Burdon, the inaugural chair of the Emerging Proteins Network, as I can say, a hat of many. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight, Miranda.
Pleasure. Kia ora.
Kia ora. So, firstly, Emerging Proteins New Zealand, another organisation, but this one collectively with the willing. Can you tell us how it's formed and the support that it's gained?
Yeah, sure. So obviously we're very new. We were launched yesterday, but that's a culmination of a number of months of work and a number of years of engagement with Food HQ and the broader agri sector. So Emerging Proteins New Zealand has been established to accelerate the sector, and that's really because of the blockages, I suppose, many of us who have been working on products that look at different protein solutions have experienced, and they're quite similar blockages. So trying to find, and someone like Food HQ is sitting in the middle and fending off all the same questions. So it became relatively apparent relatively quickly that we needed to actually bring our collective strength to this problem. And the other part of that conversation is actually giving ourselves the weight of a presence at the table. This is I think Ian Proudfoot spoke yesterday, who's the global head of agribusiness for KPMG, and he commented he started raising this point in 2010. Now, we started looking at it in 2017, so I was very late to the party. But in New Zealand, we've almost been resistant to having the conversation, and that's an impediment because globally this is exploding as a category. There is the most enormous amount of money going into the category and research. And we need to actually embrace it now and lean into it.
And the thing is, a lot of my farming friends, regardless of age, are saying if there's a market for it, we'll grow it. And so the disconnect of that system has been the problem that's been bottlenecking. But majority of that too, I've found in conversations, particularly here in Lincoln, is some very innovative products, but lacking the ability to process it. How and where do we start?
So it's a really interesting point. So the first thing is the intent and the willingness to go there. So New Zealanders are amazing innovators. We are amazing farmers. A lot of the new products that are coming to market, and hemp is a really good example of this. We have, I believe, around 100 people growing hemp at the moment in New Zealand. Now, hemp is an amazing protein source, but it's got all sorts of issues at a cropping level. So until we find a consolidated way to make the entire product productive, until we find a consolidated way to actually extract value from the different parts of that production cycle, then it doesn't make sense. And the only real way to do that is by bringing together the different groups who have a vested interest. So the starting point for emerging proteins, which I won't call EPNZ, the starting point for Emerging Proteins New Zealand is to make sure that people are having the conversations. So we've just launched a business called Food Nation, and Food Nation is about celebrating the produce that New Zealand creates and finding ways to celebrate plants and get more plants on more plates. Now, a lot of the products in the market are about meat, fake meat or meat facsimiles. We actually want to showcase what we can do and how we can be the garden to the world, not just the farm to the world. And if we can do that, to your point, Sarah, we can introduce all sorts of alternative revenue streams to our farmers, and we know they'll do them well. But it's about all the steps in that chain coming together, and that won't happen through one individual or one entity. So this is all about us working together.
This is my first, apologies, I had some bacon this morning, but nearly my first day of fully vegetables. I am on my food bag, so it does make it easy to make it taste nice. But that's by no choice. I absolutely love my red meat, and I'm certainly by no means trying to cut it down. It's just the nature of learning how to consume it in different ways. And we are a consuming nation that just as much as around the world. I want to know, as we sort of alluded to the All Blacks there, the race is on. How do we drop our shoulder into that scrum with the Netherlands, with the might that they have and what is set up as known as Food Valley? And how does New Zealand, little old New Zealand, start to really make some gains in this particular sector?
I wouldn't discount what we're already doing. So I think people are in training. You want to use this analogy, then I would say we're getting match fit. And there's some really innovative, interesting things that are happening, but we also have to learn from the best. So this isn't about starting with nothing and trying to create something new. This is about recognizing and applying technology from around the world and then seeing how we can do that so much better. It's about taking the best and applying it. And some of that is about understanding what we can do better than anyone else. So there's certain crops that we're looking at that have been identified in other parts of the world. No one can do a Sauvignon Blanc like we can. Who knows what that will apply to at a crop level. So there's lots of work going on to different crops that this could apply to. And then it's about looking at how we utilize those crops and utilize different technologies to create really productive and valuable IP. And I do think communication and collaboration is a really important part of this, but so is focus and knowing that the end game is actually a productive sector. So the Minister was great, Minister O'Connell was great yesterday and fully endorsed what we were doing and supported it. And there is both funding available and desire from a large number of people to actually see this happen. So we need to close the silos. We need to think big and actually make sure that we are performing at a global level. And I suppose, I keep harking back to our experience, but it's a really great scenario or great case study. We launched our products 2 months ago. We're not making fake meat. We're celebrating plants. And I've been in food for 20 years. I've never had an experience where so many people globally have approached us about our products.
And can I just take the opportunity, Joel, to be able to put up some images of these products on screen so that we can talk to those. There you can see beetroot, kumara and kiwi quinoa patties, broccoli, peas and hemp patties, cauliflower, turmeric and ginger patties. Happy Patties by Food Nation is what Miranda is referring to there. Beautiful packaging. Is value add right through to that final portion size the direction we should be exporting?
I think we can do it. There's people doing really innovative things at an ingredients level. So I think we can be an ingredients supplier. We can be an IP supplier. There's a lot of different things that we can do in this sector. To me, it's an evolution of the farming sector or the agri sector. When we went into dairy, we've just continued refining and getting better and better, and that's about the collective strength and shared wisdom. So I don't see why we won't continue to evolve in this space. You're looking at lots of different areas in farming, the evolution of sheep's milk, the evolution of dairy farming, the evolution of many of these sectors. This is just another sector that if we put our minds to it and we put the support around it, that there's no reason why we can't be world leaders in niches, because we will never be of a scale that we have to go volume, not value.
Thank you so much to the great team at Food HQ and, of course, the inaugural chair of Emerging Proteins New Zealand, which was launched yesterday, Miranda Burdon. Miranda, of course, you were the many hats, CEO of Meadow Mushrooms. You on a dairy farm. I mean, you're involved in so many things, but you've also been involved heavily with the organisation global woman. And I want to take the opportunity to ask you, since following Barbara Cougar on the show yesterday, about the untapped opportunity for women coming into our sector. What are some of those key tangible things we can do to level the playing field and bring diversity of thinking to our problems?
So I just clarify one thing. I'm the chair at Meadows.
My apologies.
We have a wonderful CEO, and I would hate him to think that I was anywhere near as in that role. I was lucky enough to have quite a lot of involvement with particularly the dairy sector and women in farming in that space. But I think irrespective of sector, it's the same conversation. If you haven't got a diverse group of people, and gender is the easiest thing. If there's not men and women sitting around the table, you've got a singular perspective. So this is not a women's issue. This is not, we shouldn't segment. We should look at how we are actually bringing people of all different thoughts into the room and making sure that they have the ability to participate and contribute. Because often what we do is we look at the numbers and we just say, well, I've got 2 women there, so there's 8 men, but there's 2 women, but they're not getting heard. So it's really about how you make sure different voices are heard and their comments are actually able to contribute.
Absolutely. Thank you so much just for adding that little footnote on there. Very important, and all your contributions you've done across the sector, and very exciting future in this new role. There's Miranda Burdon, the new inaugural chair of Emerging Proteins Network.
This is Sarah's Country.